What's up, cinephiles? Welcome back to the channel. In case you're not aware, Netflix just announced that 2021 will be its biggest streaming year yet. They've released this video ad highlighting all the movie releases, and the first one in their calendar is this sci-fi action movie Outside the Wire, directed by Mikael, Håfström, top billed by Anthony Mackie. Here's my review coming right up, but before I do that, why don't you guys show your support to the channel by hitting that like button and subscribing to us for weekly reviews of movies, TV shows, and video games. Now, Outside the Wire, this movie is set in 2036. Russia and Ukraine are against each other. I think Russia are trying to conquer the Ukraine territories or the other way around. Honestly, I couldn't remember, and I don't think it's really that much important. The main thing that you need to know is these US military officers are working as peacemaking units to appease these two neighboring countries, and they found themselves stuck in the middle of this war. Our protagonist here is Lieutenant Harp, played by Damson Idris. He's a remote drone pilot who's deployed into the heart of the war zone so he can have a good taste of what does a war feels like, because he has done some controversial decisions in the past that questions his morality and soul as a human being. And in here, his officer will be played by Anthony Mackie as Leo, who will we find out as an android, a next generation cyborg. If you've seen the trailer, you're going to wait to see him taking off his shirt, and you can see his translucent body with all the gears inside him. So he's a covert AI working for the US military, and now their mission is to capture this Russian warlord, Victor Koval, played by Pilou Asbæk, who you might have known as Euron Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. So a sci-fi action movie. Right from the get-go, I'm going to say that regardless of which angle you're going to look at this film, this movie won't really score any points for originality. Cyborg movies, we have a lot of those stemming from the Terminator franchise, and even if someone makes a contention here that Anthony Mackie is playing some sort of a black Terminator, that is actually not the first, because 2 years ago there's this Hobbs and Shaw movie where Idris Elba is playing essentially the same character who's been pegged for that black Terminator role. So when it comes to the themes that they're trying to explore here in the artificial intelligence community, whether AIs can be human enough, if they can discern what's good from evil, if they can evolve beyond their pre-programmed knowledge, that is something that a lot of sci-fi films that have touched, say Ex Machina, or just simply look into the filmography of Ridley Scott. I think he also has this recent series from HBO Max, this Raised by Wolves. So that thing is not entirely new. And also when it comes to the use of robots as a form of modern warfare, there are a lot of movies that already use that concept, like Chappie or The Edge of Tomorrow. So clearly there's no originality point here, and that's okay, because this movie is trying to be something more than a serviceable action film. It tries to be philosophical, it tries to be more complicated and more thoughtful, to simply go beyond what these serviceable action movies deliver. And I really appreciate the effort to broach into much deeper and more complex themes. There's also an anti-war message that's buried within the movie, but you know, it's kind of quite ironic, because with all the cacophony and the carnage, the message seems to be modeled at times, that the movie becomes some sort of an excuse to say that war is bad, some sort of a morality tale that you can swallow hard enough, because this one also suffer in one of the pitfalls of serviceable action films, where it's more focused on firepower than the brain power, so you can't really take its message seriously. But before I delve into the screenplay, let me first talk about its main leads, because this is one of the best things that this movie has it for. We have Anthony Mackie, who we all know as Falcon in the MCU movies, and in here there's nothing really new that showcases his skill set and range as an actor, but you know, the movie relies on his charisma to sell this movie. And even if he's delivering lines which are mostly clunky and expository for the most part, there's still charm to his performance, and I even chuckled a bit when he mentions this line, "I can do this all day." And if you're a Marvel fan, you'll definitely understood this reference that they're talking about. And in here, he plays this really interesting character, because he's not just this pre-programmed AI. He can actually learn and improve from his base knowledge and adopt human behavior. He knows when to defy authority in service of this greater good, and later on you will actually realize that this character has some sort of a different agenda. Whether if it's good or bad, you will decide it for yourself. And then there's this other character who's at the complete dichotomy of his character, Damson Idris. here as Lieutenant Harp. As a drone pilot, he just launches these missiles without any regard if he thinks it's the best choice, and he doesn't feel much of the consequences or the weight behind his actions. So it's nice that he's having this character journey here, because once he finds himself in the heart of the war zone, he's now being terrorized by these missiles that he used to launch over people. So you can see this character development, but there are times that the movie kind of leaned on to his former decisions, so it kind of feels confusing whether they are really trying to redeem this character. But for the most part, Anthony Mackie, I've seen him play before in better war films like The Hurt Locker, and this is pretty much a walk in the park because he's mostly using his residual charm and vibes from the Altered Carbon series that's just recently cancelled. Anthony Mackie is one of those leading men that has grown onto me, so I will definitely watch any movie that he's in. Maybe this is also a good preparation in his Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if you want more meat to his character and his acting chops, we can definitely get more of that in that series. Maybe not in this movie so much. And then Damson Idris here, he's relatively new. I thought he's Wes from How to Get Away with Murder, but upon digging, the reason that this character, it feels so familiar because I've seen him before in the Black Mirror episode of Smithereens, one of the great episodes of Black Mirror, and it's nice to see this actor finally have a chance to have a lead role. This is pretty much an okay starter for his career as a lead role. Now let's talk about the screenplay of this movie, because the pacing is just off for me. Most of this film is expository in nature in its first setup moments, and I don't think the movie has done enough or the appropriate setup to the themes that it's trying to allude by the third act, and then there's a third act twist. The movie gets more convoluted, like a bevy of factions are introduced, further blurring the lines of good and evil. And honestly, you can feel the strain of this movie because it's just overlong at times. Though there are a lot of action sequences which are competently shot, some of them are quite reliant to quick cuts, but I would say that they're competent enough, and though not necessarily spectacular, because I'm the type of person who has seen a lot of action movies. So when it comes to this type of thing, as a whole, it kind of feels bland, and maybe it goes into the support of the message of the movie, the anti-war message, that it kind of feels repetitive and pointless. I would be hard-pressed to think that there's an original idea in this movie, even if the shots of Anthony Mackie running on the rooftop seems to be lifted on a Mission Impossible movie. And then by the end, the movie hammers this moral drama that I don't think really give much weight to its premise, because they haven't done the proper setup. And come to think of it, with the type of messaging that they're going for, you can actually strip that sci-fi aspect and maybe make this more of a character-focused drama, action drama, and it would have been more effective. I don't think that the sci-fi element is really integral into it, because as the character design here of Anthony Mackie's android, I don't think he's special enough as he claims to be from the other slew of cyborgs that we've seen in the past. Overall, Outside the Wire tries to deliver beyond that serviceable action genre, and I really appreciate the attempt to broach on more complex themes. Maybe to a certain extent, this movie has delivered something more than your average action drama, but it's not really far beyond the perimeters that this genre has established. The overall direction is pretty much okay, and both of its leads are perfectly game in their roles, but when it comes to the screenplay, I don't think it has really given justice to the thematic weight of its premise. I think it's overlong at times. It's not even campy fun enough, so I don't think this will be an entirely memorable action movie. I would be slightly generous though and give this movie a 2.5 out of 5 rating. I think there's a good story that's beneath under this sci-fi mess and this narrative mess. I just don't think that its screenplay has given much depth into the military versus artificial intelligence debate that we have here. So that's it for my review of Outside the Wire, directed by Mikael Håfström. How about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comment sections down below. If you enjoyed watching this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to us for weekly content. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, see you on the next one.